you're here. I hope you're ready because I am going to hammer you with tariff questions.
Yeah.
We have got to get to the bottom of Trump's trade war.
Let's
you
do
and me.
it. I mean, first of all, I miss 104. We're at 125 now, but 104 just felt like a sexier number, right?
Right. I totally agree.
It's like random.
Missed
opportunity.
Oh my God. I am such a huge fan of yours.
Likewise, Desi. But okay, I ran into you. I think it was it doesn't matter, some awards thing, but like.
I'm sure it was very fancy and very elite.
It was very fancy, very elite, but I whatever. I have tunnel vision at those things. I don't look in the periph because I'm like, I don't know who I'm gonna and get into the crossfire with.
Yes.
But like you, I turned to you and it felt like there was a star shower behind you. I was like, Desi Lydic is right there, and God, I love her.
Oh, you're so sweet. I travel with a ring light.
Yes.
And I have an intern.
And you're backlit?
Yes, I'm always backlit.
That never works.
I hire an intern to follow me around, so it makes you think it's a moment.
Yes.
No, I felt the same way. I was like, I need to corner you and make sure that you come on the show to see us, and then I can snag you.
Yes.
That's what.
Snagged.
And we did it.
We did it.
I love all of the characters that you play on SNL. You've played George Santos.
Yes. Oh, there he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
The very handsome George Santos.
Thank you.
J.D. Vance.
There
There he is. And my favorite, the prima donna iceberg.
that
That's my favorite of all time. It feels like you choose these highly unlikable, unsavory characters and just somehow find the humor and make them engaging.
I really love just this thing in our culture of like people who are in media who like hate it too much. But they chose to like be in front of the camera. They chose to be on display, and yet they're like, "Don't look at me, don't look at me." But it's like, you opted into. There was some buy-in on some level.
The idea that the iceberg is a victim in all of this.
Totally.
That's very.
And isn't he? He was just sitting there.
I mean, what was he doing?
Yeah.
It wasn't really his fault.
And by now he's gone. He's melted away with climate change.
What was the moment when you were asked to play J.D. Vance? Lauren asked you, and what did you say?
Lauren asked me, and I said, "Please, please, please, don't make me do this."
Why?
I really find him challenging. First of all, God's honest truth, I really do my best with him, but every time I have to play him, I go to Lauren and I say, you can do a buyback. You don't have to stick with me. You can please reach out to Zach Galifianakis. Please reach out to Taron Killam.
No.
But no, that's my charge. So
how did you find your way through him? Was it a challenge?
It was. Oh my gosh, you really are grilling me.
We'll get to the tariff.
I love it. No, you know what? I worked with. You guys are gonna roll your eyes. I worked with like an accent coach. We had to find the middle between like Appalachian but Ohio. Like we really had to like find the right.
This.
Yeah, and like I was like, I don't want to screw this up. Like I have such an uphill battle here. Like I've got my almond eye. I like this, and everyone in America is gonna be like, this Asian guy is playing that guy. Like I was like, I really gotta nail this down, and I'm just telling you guys. I'm doing my best, okay?
It is so far beyond that. I love hearing that because your presence on SNL is like I can't imagine the pressure cooker it must be, and you always look so calm and cool and relaxed. So thank you for sharing that you work really hard and you hire an accent
And I'm not even on ketamine. It's amazing. Yet.
I want to talk about your podcast, Las Culturistas.
Yes.
Pop culture has been a huge part of your life. You started doing that in 2016 before SNL. How has your perspective changed over the years, being someone who observes and is passionate about pop culture, to then becoming part of the culture?
Oh my gosh. I really think there is no big difference. We're basically the same show as we were 9 years ago, which is dinosaur years in podcasting.
Yeah, truly.
But I mean, it's the same show. We start off, we just riff, and then we end with this silly segment. But I think, like, I'm just like y'all going home watching The Pit. You know what I mean? Like we're all watching the same stuff, and I feel like I get why everyone thinks that like things are fragmented now and there's no monoculture anymore, but I feel like we're still like tuning into like the same shows. Like there's just fewer shows that we're all tuning into, but I feel like that kind of makes our jobs as people, as consumers, easier if we're just like, all right, it's Sunday, we're gonna watch Walton Goggins, you know, be scary.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, and we all did. Except I have not caught up on the finale, so please,
I didn't spoil anything.
Blow it for me.
Yep.
I'm gonna watch tonight.
No problem.
I want to talk about your new movie, The Wedding Banquet. It's so good. You're fantastic in it. This cast is amazing. Lily Gladstone.
Yep. Ya Jung-yoon, Joan Chen.
Yes.
Hunky Chan. It's his first English movie ever. He's amazing in it. Kelly Marie Tran. It's a great.
Tell us what the story is all about.
So it's a remake of an Ang Lee film from the 90s. It's about this sham marriage that has to get staged between these two couples who are friends with each other. The lesbian couple needs an IVF treatment. The Korean guy, my boyfriend, needs to just stage this wedding so that his parents in Korea, his family in Korea doesn't find out. He's really wealthy. He offers to pay for the IVF treatments, and my character kind of gets sidelined, and he's like, how do I fit into this? And it's so fun. It's a warm hug of a movie. You'll all love it, I promise. It's great.
It is. It's a rom-com. You're bringing the rom-coms back.
Yeah.
Finally. We need more.
It's me. Oh my gosh! Thank you. Yeah. It's me, Glenn Powell, and Sydney Sweeney. We're all on the front line. That's a movie I'd like to see, actually, if you can make that happen. Yes.
A throuple with the three of you. The movie, as you said, centers around a sham marriage.
Yes.
Have you thought about who you would want your sham wife to be?
Yeah.
For a green card? Like if you had to
totally.
in that situation?
Let's see. Who needs one? But who wants to come here anymore? You know what I mean?
That's a fair point.
I'm gonna say.
Would she be like a blonde in Late Night, or it's like if you could choose anyone?
I feel like you're spoken for. So. I feel like right, but she would absolutely be a blonde. No,
as you were.
As I was. You know what? I would really take any. I'm a self-proclaimed boob gay. I love a buxom bosom.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So yeah, as long as you're stacked, I'll marry you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Most respected chefs in America.
Wow,
thanks for coming on the show.
Good.
Great to meet you.
Likewise.
Great person as well. Your book, cookbook and memoir.
Right.
You've managed to trick us into reading about your story in between. you kind of hide it in between these recipes here, and it's well written. I encourage everyone to go read it. You know, for a chef, the stereotype is everyone's very angry, but you write this with so much love. What is the real you?
Well,
is it this?
It's this. This is it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Because I know this is kind of like a hacky question, but I just gotta ask it because you also bring up in the memoir when you were up and coming, you're being trained by these legendary chefs. The training in the kitchen was pretty hardcore, and
yeah, it was.
People yelling at you, and
people were yelling. But I think there's a reason for that. And especially when I was in France working, I got a sense that they couldn't communicate any other way. That was the only way they could actually get a point across.
Right, the
was
French.
Just yelling and screaming. Yeah, and so you got used to it.
Right, but I mean, even in America, you're training in America.
Oh, yeah,
same thing. The American chefs.
Same thing, though. It was
So I guess my question to you is like, I mean,
they were yelling at you in a different language. It was just,
yeah, is.
It doesn't matter, right? Exactly, yeah.
Because I feel like I don't know enough about cooking at all, but with comedy, I feel like there is a certain amount of toxicity that you need to endure to get good at this, you know? And so do you feel the same way with cooking, you know? I guess what would you say to all these woke sissies who are complaining about being mistreated in the kitchen? Like really, are you like, hey, like tough enough, or are you like, hey, something?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No, we don't do that anymore. No, we can't do that. No, things have changed. This when I was coming up, it was 40 years ago. It was a very different world that we lived in, and it was, there wasn't a whole lot of, in your face screaming and yelling, but it was a lot of hard, long hours, and there was a lot expected of you. But it wasn't the yelling and screaming that you think about. But the misogyny was obviously there. The sort of machismo, of the kitchen, you burnt yourself, that was a badge of honor. How many times you burnt your arms and things like that. And so, but I think a lot of that's going away.
Right,
Yeah.
but I guess the question again to you is like, is it going away is it good that it's going away, or do you feel like something's missing in the transfer of knowledge, or?
No, I don't think anything's missing in transfer of knowledge. I think that it's going away for the right reasons. You know, the idea of getting someone to do something through intimidation doesn't really work. I mean, maybe it works in the military. I have no idea, but it certainly isn't necessary to get your point across. And I think also, if you look back, chefs that were running kitchens.
So to interrupt you, actually, I spoke to a military guy about this because as a Asian person who grew up in Singapore, Malaysia, I've been yelled at my whole life to where learning was being yelled at.
Right.
And I asked the military guys about this in the U.S. I mean, small sample size, but one of the U.S. military guys said that when you're yelling, you've already lost control.
You lost them, exactly. You lost control.
Meaning you shouldn't be in that situation in the first place.
You don't have to, but I think it's a matter of 40 years ago, the chefs that were working in kitchens, they weren't able to communicate exactly what they were looking for. And so they were running around and screaming the whole day because they thought that was the way that you had to motivate people, because that's the way they were motivated. And it's somewhere along the lines, I mean, for me, and I think I mentioned this in the book.
Yeah, with Thomas Keller.
Well, that was different. That was
Sorry,
more.
I don't interrupt you. You go.
Yeah, that was more psychological nonsense that he was playing. He played a lot of games. I mean, he's a great chef. But I just had an issue with the way he was talking to me. I promised myself at a certain point, if I got a restaurant, that I wasn't going to sort of, the things that the way I was treated, I was going to break that. I was going to do something different. And did I lose my temper at times? Absolutely. But nowadays you kind of walk away. Before you lose your temper, you walk away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm genuinely interested in this because you're arguably the most respected chef in America. If you're saying that, hey, we don't need to be yelling in kitchens, then I guess everything that's happening in the Bear is completely unnecessary because those guys. Yo, what's going on? What are you guys doing?
I don't know, but I don't know if you saw the third season. There wasn't a whole lot of yelling in the third season, and it wasn't that good. Right?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's something I can't speak to, but you speak to the kitchen stuff.
I think there's a lot of people who think that the third season was a little slow.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna.
Slower.
I love and
the critics
watch
say
the
this.
Bear.
And not me, it's the critics that say this.
Sure,
Well, it's not me.
Okay.
The TV
I'm still
critics,
available for guest appearances on the Bear. Again,
they're going to take my cookbook. I have a cookbook on the shelf there. They're going to take it off now.
No, they won't.
Season 4, my book's
No, you
gone.
see, you don't yell at it anymore. You just say that they suck quietly.
Very quietly.
That's what you're doing now.
Very
Yeah.
quiet.
You're not in the
Exactly.
kitchen going, you suck. You're on the Daily Show going, you suck.
Congrats on the success of Hacks.
Thank you so much.
We laugh. I laugh so hard at the show.
That's the goal.
So much of this season is about acquiring or attempting to get a late night show.
Yes.
Did you reach out to people in late night? Did you not have my email and you were nervous? And then you got it, but then you still didn't want a cold email? How did it work?
I know you have a lot going on.
Yeah.
You have a lot of news to read. You have a lot of things to do. So we had a bunch of consultants on the show that had worked in late night.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we had a peek behind the curtain from our writers.
Because it is, I feel like you're writing about the comedy industry and it's singing to me.
Oh.
But then I'm going, is the rest of the country also understanding and laughing at all this? But it feels like you've really done that.
That's good.
How have you created a show about show business that my friends in Michigan like also?
Wow.
And they're idiots.
I love them. No. I think because it's a show about people who have been kind of cast aside by the industry,
Yeah.
I think it's really relatable because you know what it's like, or a lot of people know what it's like to be on the outside of something and want to break into it.
Yeah.
And this woman, Deborah Vance, played brilliantly by Jean Smart,
Yeah.
is this Vegas stand-up and kind of had to carve out her own path outside of show business. So I think because of that, people who want to do creative work or people who want to do something and have a craving for something really understand that want.
Her drive, her ambition, yet her selfishness.
Yeah.
That's one thing I also got to ask you about. Does one have to be selfish to be successful? I'm asking myself that question. But it comes up in Hacks.
Oh yeah, it's a major theme. I hope not, because I'm an angel. So I hope you don't have to be. But I think you have to be selfish to a certain degree in that if you are somebody like the characters in the show, you have to really be married to your work. It's like really all about devoting yourself 150%. So in that way, I think, you kind of do sacrifice things in your life.
Was it important for you to create a show where where women from different generations are interacting? Because that's one thing that when I was looking at Hacks and not just laughing with it, and I was like, holy shit, these are just two totally different age groups interacting, which is pretty rare on TV.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing for us, is we had never seen a show, I mean, other than maybe Mother-Daughter or something, where there were two people that were so different that became friends.
Yeah.
So that was really one of the most interesting parts of the dynamic.
Yeah.
Also, it let us explore different ideas from their frame of reference, which would be so different.
Yeah.
And so we can do that over and over again in a way that hopefully is, sensitive to both of their points of view. Nobody's ever 100% right.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that is what's fun. Is as soon as I'm liking Deborah, she breaks my heart, and then So you've done that very well.
Thank you.
Hacks, that term in stand-up comedy, it's an insult.
It is.
It means you are telling old jokes. You're not being creative.
Right. How do you know?
Exactly. Honestly. Edit that. I know because I'm fearful of it.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can be called is a thief. The second worst thing you can be called is a hack.
Yes.
So how did this term in the title happen? And sometimes I wonder if it's accurate for the show. Am I right to question that?
No.
Okay.
Well,
that's why you're here. I'm here to ask you that.
No, I mean, it is interesting because we kind of called it that in the beginning, and it was sort of like a temporary title.
Okay.
But it is like this thing of, and you see people on late night actually, a lot of times comedians I find, or I think we can all agree, sometimes go on a late night and they still kill. And they're so funny because they're in touch with what's going on in culture. And then there are some people that age out.
Yeah.
And some people that are on and you're like, why is this person still doing it? Or why are they still telling the same jokes? So in the beginning of the show, this young writer interviews for this job with this older stand-up and says, I would never want to work for a hack.
Right.
But what she learns in the course of the show is that a hack is somebody who does the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But our character learns and grows because of her relationship with this younger person, and vice versa. I mean, the younger person is an entitled Gen Z person that learns the value of hard work and gets up earlier. There's a lot of things that she gets back from Deborah.
You co-created. There's a lot of, you write on it.
Yeah.
You've directed, right?
Yep. I direct them,
and you're in it.
Yeah.
That's a shitload of stuff.
Too much.
Too much stuff.
Too much, yeah.
Wearing all the hats. How do you compartmentalize? Is it too many things?
They all kind of go hand in hand for me. I mean, being able to perform is the most fun, but also having written it, it gives it a little bit more of a freedom and an effortlessness when I am performing.
Yeah.
Directing is something that, I think when we write visually and we think about the way that the show looks and how it's composed. And so that is also something that feels like it's just integral to the work, but it is the hardest part. Directing is hard. Directing is really hard. Yeah. Because you have to think about time, and there's a whole crew of people that are making this thing happen, and you're deciding if you can move on or you'll get another take. It's just like that stuff is much less fun than saying lines.
I mean, you're also dealing with talent, but in yourself, you're dealing with yourself.
Yeah, and that's the hardest.
You ever think about that?
Yeah.
Like, God, this guy Paul is such an asshole to the director.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And that director's
I am the most demanding of the director, and I'm the hardest on the actor Paul.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. There's a line in episode 1, season 3, where you're at the JFL Just for Laughs festival, which
rest in peace.
Rest in peace is now bankrupt.
Yeah.
But there's like young people at the bar, and one of them's looking around, and he says, "God, it feels so 80s in here."
Yeah.
And I laughed out loud. Who wrote that, and what does that line
I have
mean?
to tell you that was improvised by that actor.
Are you serious?
Yes, I give credit where credit is due.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Shit.
Thank
So
you.
now he's a co-writer. Now he's a co-writer.
Yeah, Jordan improvised that.
Okay.
And that's the thing, we try because myself, my wife Lucia Agnello, and Jen Statsky, who created the show, we all come from improv and sketch comedy. And so when somebody brings something to the role that makes it better, we're like, great, let's use it. So we're constantly adapting on that.
I feel like you and your co-star in the scene that showed are improvising a fair amount. Is that accurate, or does it just feel so natural?
Yes, but in the scene that you just saw, that was completely scripted.
It was.
That was very, very scripted because there were so many, that woman who was taping us had to there was a lot of moving parts to that scene, but we do improvise a fair amount.
That's great. That, I told you backstage, but that episode really resonated with me because as a comic, it's like, get to JFL, get to Just for Laughs, and holy shit, you guys nailed it so well.
Thank you.
But there's also a little bit of a dig there on this show called On the Contrary that Hannah's character plays.
Yep.
And it's a man wearing an Uncle Sam hat, and they're talking about how important comedy is and how it changes society.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm watching it, and I'm looking around here, and I'm seeing the red, white, and the blue.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, you know, one of the things I like about Deborah's comedy is that it isn't always important. It isn't always changing the world. And I want to know what your thoughts are on, is comedy important? Is it meant to be? Does it need to be? Can we just do a joke where we do fart noises in our armpits sometimes?
My favorite joke. Favorite joke. I think comedy is important even if it's not satire and it's not political comedy. I think it's important because I don't know, that thing of like getting together with people and laughing, it does bring people closer together. I know that sounds so woo-woo, but it's true. I mean, don't you guys feel connected?
Yeah.
Don't you guys feel like...
Yeah, it was fun. Was the Daily Show in there when you were thinking about
there's
that?
DNA in the Daily... there's absolutely Daily Show references in there.
Speaking of the Daily Show, tell us quickly, you have a little bit of experience in this building.
Well, I met Ilana Glazer from Broad City, who I worked with on Broad City, on this street because we both auditioned to be on-camera interns on the Daily Show.
Right.
And neither of us got it.
That's why I made him bring it up, because,
but that's okay. It's okay.
I do love that.
It worked out. Yeah.
That's where you met her?
That's where we met on the street. She had met my wife, Lucia, and she said, "Hey, you're Paul." And I said, "Yeah?"
Yeah.
And she said, "I know Lucia, and I'm just like her, but 3 years younger." And I was like, is this a time travel thing? It was very, but you know what? That's very Ilana. It's kind of classic Ilana.
That's so funny because this is also part of the reason why everybody I meet on the street, I keep in touch with for years.
Yeah.
Because you never know.
I just have to say, I am so grateful for this show. Thank you for establishing once and for all that the female orgasm is, in fact, real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Answered our question.
Yeah, it can happen.
It can.
Yeah.
It really can.
Yes.
And it does eventually happen for Molly. No, sorry to spoil.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a
I mean, the
spoiler?
show's been out.
The show has been out.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your Emmy nomination.
Thank you very much.
It is so well deserved. The show is fantastic. You should be so proud of it. It's such a beautiful show. It's based on a true story.
Yeah.
It started as a podcast. For those who haven't seen it, describe what Dying for Sex is about.
Sure. Okay, fine. Yes, I will. But if I was like, no, I don't want to.
You're like, no thanks.
I don't think. Yes, Dying for Sex is based off a podcast that these two real-life best friends, Nikki and Molly, made while Molly was dying of breast cancer. She was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. She left her husband. She asked her best friend to really be her companion, be her partner as she went towards the end of her life. But she also took that moment to try to work out some real blocks and limits that were on her because of some childhood sexual trauma that she went through. She really had some huge intimacy issues. She had never had an orgasm with another person. And while that sounds sort of simple, the objective is to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, it really is a story about what intimacy is, what we tell ourselves about how far our life can go, how far our experience can go, and and it's a beautiful story. I was so pleased to be on a show that is about two women who are soulmates, who are in a friendship, and who are together in a way that is primary, is the most important.
It's such an interesting look at caretaking, too, from such an honest perspective, because Nikki is a person on the surface who, kind of doesn't seem to have her stuff together. Nothing is perfectly in place. She can never find anything in her bag. So she's not necessarily the first person you would think of as taking on this duty.
Yeah.
But the way that she shows up for her friend, she knows when she needs to laugh. She knows what her needs are, and she listens to her.
Yeah.
I think it's so inspiring for caretakers out there in the world to see, because a lot of people are going through this right now, and it's really a beautiful way that your character goes on that journey.
I'm glad you think so. Yeah, I mean, I guess like in becoming a parent, and I have a 4.5-year-old, like if you are to think that you must be perfect in order to be the central caregiver, then nobody's going to get anything in this world, because obviously we're all trying our best just to like keep it together. I know I am, and that doesn't make me less able to like watch my daughter as she grows and changes. And I brought some of that in with me because Molly changes as she's trying to open herself up and sort of like meet this sexual and personal goal, this liberation. But Nikki, my character, changes as well. Right. And the experience is something for both of them. It's not that Nikki is like a crutch or a prop. And part of caregiving is that flexibility to understand that like the situation is generally serious, but so is the situation of being alive. Like we only get this one, you know, whether you're at the start of your life or your end. And that there's plenty of room for variety, and that is part of the care that Nikki gives Molly. And I think she does, you know, eventually get pretty good at the boring stuff.
The thing, it's interesting that you say the thing about wanting to live differently. My feeling coming out of the show, and it's easy to feel resistant in watching some of this because it bravely confronts death and grief and loss and trauma, really hard topics. But I came out of it feeling less afraid of death and looking at death in a different way, like a transition to celebrate. Did this show change the way that you view death, caretaking, grief?
Yeah, completely. I think one thing is that Molly's character, the sexual abuse she went through as a kid really stopped a big part of her. And that in itself is sort of a death. But she and Nikki are powerful enough in their friendship and their love to like truly create, like to resuscitate something, to help her live again. And I exited the show being like, oh, right, I want to make sure that every moment of my life is as alive as possible, that there are, very few dead ends, and that every experience that I have, even if it was hard or like totally bad, can be repurposed as a resource eventually for, just like how to be more alive, how to make progress. And I also stole a lot of the sweatpants that my character wears.
As you should, that wardrobe.
They were really good. They were like the good ones.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you think we have reshoots or what's like happening with these? Because they were good.
In the spirit of Molly and dying for sex, do you have anything on your bucket list or your list?
I don't know how to make a croissant.
Oh. Well, you know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, big time. Honestly, yeah. Merci beaucoup on that. I would like to learn how to do that, and I've never been to Japan.
Oh.
Yeah. And I've always wanted to switch to the Diva Cup, but I've been doing tampons for a long time.
Let me tell you, I am with you on this.
Yeah.
I am with you on this. It is a brave expedition, let me tell you.
I mean, if I die with a tampon up there, what a waste.
Oh, God. What a story to tell, though. Here's to the Diva Cup.
Hey.
Here's to the Diva Cup. All episodes of Dying for Sex are streaming now on Hulu. Jenny Slate!